Welcome to this demonstration video about a software I developed, VMS Navigator. I am a graduated computer science engineer who is currently working as a programmer. I first came into contact with OpenVMS operating system nearly 9 years ago when I started working as a programmer on OpenVMS. While pursuing my university studies at the same time, I needed a topic for my thesis. Since I've always liked dual-panel file managers such as DOS Navigator, and I couldn't find a file manager with all the features I wanted, I decided to create one, which also became the topic of my thesis. By the way, the result of the thesis evaluation was 96 points out of 100. In the process of creating the program, I focused on exploring and addressing the expected and unexpected problems that need to be solved in the case of a file manager, the events the program should be prepared for, and how the potential advantages of the operating system can be demonstrated through it. The program was written entirely in C programming language, but of course supplemented with the DCL command language commands. I also created a several hundred-page documentation about it, so future development is easier. It runs stable on Alpha, x86, and now this demonstration runs on x86. In this video we are connected to a virtual machine running OpenVMS E9.21 through a PowerTerm terminal emulator. To be able to focus more on the software, I just hide the frame window. Let's compile and run the software. The program, as a typical dual-pane file manager, displays the contents of the directories the user wants to access on two panels, in a panel-like interface. If you are new to this, these panels can be thought of as similar to the Explorer window in the Windows operating system, with the difference being that by default, two panels are visible instead of one. Between these panels, or essentially between the directories loaded into them, users can perform operations directly. One panel is always the active side, and the other is the inactive side. The active side refers to the panel and directory where the user is currently navigating. The name of the active directory is shown in cyan background. The cyan color also highlights the file the user is currently pointing to. Let's call this file pointer. By default, the program loads the user's default directory into both panels. The default directory is specific to VMS. The file names, extensions, version numbers, sizes, and last modification dates are visible on both panels for every file. Below the area displaying directories and files, there is an information section showing the number of subdirectories and files within the current directory, as well as the number of selected files. Additionally, it indicates the position within the directory, meaning which element in the directory list is the current item. Under the information panel, the program shows the OpenVMS system-specific quota values, which can be changed between block-based and byte-based units by pressing Ctrl and B. On the active panel, we can navigate in several ways. By default, we can move to the next or preview file using the up and down arrow keys. This of course changes the position of the file pointer, which is highlighted with that cyan background. The full file name, if it is too long, you always see on the bottom line. In the directory structure, the preview directory is always indicated by 2 dots. To improve visibility, different frequently used file types are assigned different colors. To enter a subdirectory, we can press the Enter key. Of course, navigation is not limited to the arrow keys. Faster scrolling can be done using the PageUp and PageDown keys, which allow quicker page navigation. Similarly, the Home and End keys can be used to jump to the beginning or to the end of a directory. A more unique feature is that by pressing the A-Z keys on the keyboard, so any alphabetic key, the file pointer positions to the first file that starts with that given letter. For example, pressing J will move the file pointer to the first file starting with J. And pressing J again will move to the next file starting with J. If there are no further files starting with J, the next J press will bring the file pointer back to the first file starting with J. This fast positioning method can also be used for directories with the Shift A to Z key combination. In addition, we have a search option. By pressing Ctrl F, we can search within the directory and find the file by specifying its full or a part of its name. If the search is unsuccessful, we of course receive an appropriate notification. In addition to these previously mentioned navigation methods, the Tab key allows you to switch between the active and inactive panels. The file pointer will naturally move to the other panel, and the other panel will be the active panel. By default, the contents of a directory are displayed in alphabetic order based on the file names, with directories listed first, followed by the other files. However, we have the option to change the sorting order. We can organize the files based on categories such as file name, extension, version number, size, or last modification date. And we can sort them in either ascending or descending order. This is indicated by an upward or downward arrow icon next to the selected category type. To create a file, you can press the F1 key. The program is designed to be foolproof, meaning it checks in multiple ways whether the file name you've provided is valid. It ensures that the number of characters is appropriate and whether you entered some special characters which are not allowed. This multi-step validation helps to prevent errors during file creation. The same validation process applies when renaming a file, which can be done by pressing the F2 key. I press button A and fast jump to apple.doc. Then hit F2 to rename the file. We can decide if we keep the UIC and ACR rights. Let's hit Yes. Just like with file creation, the program checks the new file name to ensure it meets the necessary criteria, including the correct number of characters and compliance with special character rules, before allowing the rename action to be completed. For a simple task like renaming a file, of course we have to do multiple checks. For example, does the file still exist? If yes, do we have read access to the file? If yes, is it opened by any other process? If no, we can type in the new file name. But of course we have to check whether the format is OK. If yes, we have to check whether the file still exists and whether we still have read access to the file. And then we can try the renaming operation. But of course we have to check if it was possible. For every single operation the program can do, I made this chart so it's easier in the future to make new developments. In fact, the program uses the rename command even when moving a file, which can be done by pressing F9. Of course, we can decide here also whether we want to keep the UIC and ACL rights. Unlike copying, if a file with the same name, extension and version number already exist in the destination directory, the move operation will not be allowed. This is how I implemented this feature to my program. This ensures that there is no conflict or overwriting of existing files with identical names and versions in the target directory. Again, this could be done otherwise too, this is just how I implemented this feature. But I did it otherwise with copying. To copy a file from one directory to another, you can press the F5 key. If a file with the same name and version number already exists in the destination directory, the program will ask the user what action to take. Should it create the file with a higher version number? But of course we also can provide a new file name for the file we are trying to copy. The program also ensures that when providing a new file name, it checks whether the chosen name already exists in the destination directory or not. The feature of selecting files has some basic and some unique features I implemented. So there are several ways to select files within a directory, especially when you want to select multiple files for copying, for example. The simplest method for selecting files is by pressing the space key, which selects a file or deselects if it's already selected. The insert key works similarly, but this moves the file pointer to the next item, allowing you to select consecutive files more quickly. Pressing the asterisk key, it performs an inverse selection, meaning that all unselected files will be selected and all selected files will be deselected. You can clear all selections by pressing Ctrl and X, and to select all files you can use Ctrl and A. But let's see some unique ways to select files. You can also select files based on their names. By pressing the / key at the numeric keyboard, you can enter a file name or a part of it, and all files containing this text will be selected. This selection method has been further enhanced. By pressing the + key on the numeric keyboard, you can add more files to the already selected group in the same manner. Similarly, by pressing the - key, you can remove files from the selection. So this way we can add and remove files from a selected group. And of course we can copy multiple files at a time. I now freeze the screen so you can see what happens while you copy multiple files at a time. You see a nice progress bar, which you also see when you move multiple files and when you delete multiple files. But you can also interrupt these processes anytime. So to delete a file or multiple files, you can press the F8 or the del key. When it comes to delete directory files on OpenVMS, you can only delete these when they are empty. Let's hit F7 and create a directory. Additionally, the program ensures that you are not attempting to delete a directory file that is currently open on the inactive panel. So with these many feedbacks, I try to create a software which is very much user-friendly. There are more than 50 notifications like these in the software implemented. OpenVMS is specific in that it supports file version numbers. If you are new to this, imagine this that you can have the same file name, the same extensions, but with different file version numbers. This is especially great when you are working on a program, and so you can go back anytime to any version. My OpenVMS Navigator also provides a fast option to delete lower file versions of a file. Let's create the same file 3 times, so with 3 different version numbers. When you navigate to this file with the file pointer and press F11, you can delete the lower versions of this file. To delete lower versions for all files within a directory, you can press the backspace key. This allows you to remove older versions of files, so only the highest version remains. Well, in that case, if there are any files with multiple file versions. Of course, all actions can only be performed if we have the appropriate permissions and rights. While we can attempt to change the file ownership, for example, with Ctrl-W, if we do not have the necessary rights, the attempt will fail. We can fast modify the read, write, execute and delete permissions for the system, owner, group and world groups on a file, directory or even an entire directory structure. This can be done using a simple 4x4 matrix-like table, where each row represents one of these groups, system, owner, group and world, and each column represents one of the permissions, read, write, execute, delete. This table provides a clear and structured way to manage and adjust access rights for different entities and actions within the system. On OpenVMS you can use various text editors which can be invoked as a subprocess from my program. For example, by pressing F4 or Ctrl F4, you can open that given file in an editor and modify its contents. This allows for some seamless editing of files directly from the program interface, utilizing the available text editing tools on the system. The program, of course, handles mounted devices as well. By pressing F12, you can view these devices. The first and last items in the list are special. The first item takes you to the user's default directory, and the last item opens the directory that was last accessed on the inactive panel, so it takes you to the same directory as it is open on the other side. The program also remembers which folder on the device was last opened during the current session. Next to the device's logical names, we see the storage capacity information. For the user's own default directory, the user's quota values are shown. But let's hit Enter. By the way, this is the complexity of the flowchart, which shows what happens when we hit this Enter key after we choose our destination drive. This is a special operation in searching within the directory structure. Pressing Ctrl F allowed us to search for a file by its name within a current directory, and Alt-GR-F on the other hand enables us to search for a file by name, content or both within the entire directory structure. You always see where the search is performed. It's always within the active directory and its subdirectories. Once the search result is displayed, you can navigate through them using the usual keys, arrow keys, PageUp, PageDown, and as well as home and end keys. And to jump to the specific result, you can press the Enter key. Of course, the program also ensures that between the time of finding a successful match and pressing Enter, the file hasn't been deleted by someone else, as this is a possibility, and the program will check for this scenario before finalizing the action. One of the cool features of the operating system I implemented to this program is to see if there are any differences in two files. If two files are selected, whether on the same or on different panels like now, pressing Ctrl and G will initiate a content comparison between the two files. This allows you to quickly check if there are any differences in two files. As I usually check files for their content, I try to find a faster way than opening it with an editor. Pressing Ctrl and J provides a quick preview of the first few lines of a file, displaying them in the place of the inactive panel. This feature is especially helpful when you just need a quick glance at the beginning of a file without opening it fully in an editor. It's really a time saver when you're checking file contents or looking for some specific information at the start of a file. I made a clipboard-style copy-paste function for the program, so this is similar to what we use on Windows operating system when we press Ctrl-C and Ctrl-V. But this version in my program is a little bit improved. Since Ctrl-C is used for a different purpose on OpenVMS, I choose alternative key combinations. Pressing the numeric 0 key performs the copy operation, while the numeric Enter key performs the paste operation. And how can this be improved? An interesting feature of the program is how it handles a specific situation that many other operating systems' file managers do not address. If you copy a file and that file is deleted and recreated with the same name, pressing Paste will normally result that the new file is being copied to the target location, as the file name exists. However, the program I've written goes a step further. It checks the file ID to verify that the file is the same as the one originally copied. If it's a different file, even though the file names match, the program notifies the user that that file is not the same file. This prevents confusion and ensures that the correct file is copied or pasted, or maybe it's just an interesting task to implement. Of course, the program also allows you to execute system commands directly. After pressing Ctrl and P, you can type the desired command and the program will execute it. This feature provides a quick way to interact with the operating system without needing to switch to a separate terminal or interface, or to exit the program. Future plans and ongoing implementations include the following. The ability to run command.exe files directly within the program. Now this is available but only with the Ctrl-P command. There will be an easier way to do this, for example with Enter key. F10 key will be a quick key support for a compilation of programs written in various programming languages. This feature is already half-ready. A future plan is also to make it more user-friendly by allowing the users to customize the interface. Colors, for example, or adjust the different columns width. For example, file name, extension, version number, size and date. Translating the program into other languages is also a future plan. Now it features Hungarian and English language. And of course, a big future plan is to publish this software to make this software available to others also. How this is going to happen is not known exactly yet. So I hope you like this little demonstration video about my program. I am sure I left out some features to show, for example the remember option when we copy multiple files and don't want to question whether to overwrite or not every single time. So this and many other features are already implemented. If you would like to see a brief summary about my software, you can check it out on my website. Also, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave in the comment section. Thank you for watching, see you next time!